daughter started college up in Minnesota in the fall. So we had a little time this week. My son Nathaniel and I made a quick trip up to Minnesota, which actually you shouldn't do in a quick trip because it's really far up there. It's a lot of driving. But we went up to see her. Her birthday is coming up, and I thought, well, we should probably go, check out how she's doing and everything. So we went up to see her, and one of the things that she wanted to do while we were there is to get her passport renewed. I mean, there's a whole story with that, but she's got a grant to go study in Argentina over the summer, and so, which is so awesome, right? I'm so excited for her. But she needs to make sure that she has a fresh passport. So she said, hey, can we go do that? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I picked her up Friday morning, and I knew that I had only one question that I could ask her, and I knew that I had to word this very carefully, because she's at that age. See, some of you know what I'm going to say. She's at that age where if I ask the question not carefully, she'll say something like, Mom, I know what I'm doing. I'm not a baby, right? So I very carefully worded my question. Oh, good morning, honey. Hey, do you have everything that you need? You've got your old passport and your license, and you've got all that stuff, right? Oh yeah, Mom, I'm all set. Okay, great. So on the second trip back to that town, we had to go about 15 minutes, drive about 15 minutes to the next town over where she could renew the passport. On the second trip, because it turns out that you need a check. You need a check to pay. You cannot pay with credit card. You cannot even pay the federal government in cash. They want a check only, or a money order. Yeah, so I didn't ask on that part of the question. On the second second trip back and forth from that other town, we had a very nice conversation about what it means to be an adult, because this is a big thing for her at this age. What does it mean to be an adult, to grow up? And along with that is, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Right? Everybody's asking her that. Oh, what's your major? What's your major in college? She has no idea. She is trying to figure it out. And so we had this great conversation about all those things. She's kind of just waiting till she can feel it in her gut, right? She just will have a feeling that this is what I'm supposed to do, and it will happen. But that has not come to her quite yet. So I've been thinking about the gospel from Mark that we read today, that section. One thing that is good to know about Mark is that he is, of all the four gospel writers, the most concise. He doesn't waste words. He probably was like a police officer or something, right? Just the facts, ma'am. Right, that's all he wants. And so he doesn't waste words on a nativity. There's nothing about the birth of Jesus in his gospel. The stories that other writers take verses and verses to tell, he tells like in 2 verses. Like the temptation of Jesus, 2 verses, that's all he needs. Jesus went to the desert, tempted, came back, done. Right? Luke takes 13 verses. So that's where we get all the details. When we need the details, we go to Luke or Matthew because they will fill that in for us. But Mark is just concise and to the point. What that tells me is that for Mark, every word matters. So I was thinking about the gospel text, and the 2 words that really stuck out to me with this text are towards the end when Jesus starts preaching, and he tells the people, repent and believe. Oh, I knew the batteries were going to die. They just went. Let me see if I got new ones. Let me see if I can do this. How do I do this? Oh, well, we got 2 more bars. All right. Quick sermon, Pastor. Let's go. Okay. All right. All right, so the 2 words, repent and believe. Now, the word repent in our society, I think, gets a bad rap. We think of a televangelist or an old-fashioned tent revivalist screaming at people, repent! Right? I mean, that's what I think of when I hear that word. But that is not actually what Jesus meant when he said that word, repent. It comes from the Greek word metanoian, which, if you think metamorphosis, right, to turn into something. So what he said to repent, what he was saying is to turn toward God. Does this make sense? Turn toward. That's what repent means in this case. Now, of course, if we're not turned towards God, we're turned towards something that maybe isn't so helpful or uplifting, but that's not what Mark cares about. Mark cares about turning towards God. That's the most important thing about turning for Mark. Does this make sense? Yes? Okay, all right. The other word, belief, comes from the Greek word pistis, which is not about learning facts and figures, like 2 + 2 = 4, or that Minnesota is northwest of Illinois, or that the dinosaurs lived in whatever period the dinosaurs lived in. I should have looked it up, but this is, I don't know. I'm sure some people tell me afterwards. It's not about the facts and figures. It's about feeling in your gut that something is right. So I was thinking about one of the times that I felt that most strongly was when we got pregnant with our third child, and we realized that our little 2-bedroom house was not going to be big enough for 5 people anymore. It just wasn't going to work, and so we started looking at houses. The realtor, bless his soul, took us through house after house after house after house, and I really tried to fall in love with one of them. I love this house. No, I don't. I'm going to like this one. No, maybe not. I really tried, and he showed us so many houses. Finally, he called us and he said, so there's this house that's going to go on the market on Monday. This is Friday. Do you want to go through it? Because maybe you'll like this one. And we went through the house, a little red brick ranch, 3 bedrooms instead of 2, and a much nicer basement. I walked in the house, and I knew in my gut that this was the right house. Have you had that feeling before? Just nod your head a little bit. Not about a house necessarily, but maybe about a job or a person or an animal, or right? You just feel it in your gut that this is the right thing. That's what Jesus was talking about when he told us to believe, to feel it in our gut. We don't have to make everything line up. I talk to a lot of people who aren't so sure they believe in God. Higher power, really? This doesn't make any sense to me. Well, according to Jesus, it actually isn't supposed to make sense like that. It's about feeling it in our guts. It's about how we believe, not so much what we believe. And how do we know when we turn what to believe? Well, we know by looking at Jesus. Jesus is always going to point us to God. And so when Jesus heals, we know that that's what God does too. Or when Jesus accepts everybody, right? Especially those people on the outside, the children, the women, the lepers, the dead people, like these people that on the outsides that he accepts, those are the ones that God accepts. Or anytime, like offering love and grace and forgiveness, that's what Jesus does to anyone who comes to him. And that's what God is like too. And so that's really what Mark is talking about here, that we turn to God and we feel it in our gut that this is the right thing. Now, I would love to tell my daughter, hey, you know what? I have watched you grow up. I know you better than anyone else. I know you better than you. Not that she would believe that, but it's true, right? And I could tell you exactly the right job that you should be doing because I know you so well. And if you did this, and this, and this, and you should probably take this class, and this class, and this class, and you will know. You will feel it in your gut, I promise. I could try that. No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because she has to figure it out for herself. There is a path that God has laid out for her that even I do not know. I think that's kind of how God looks at us too, right? God knows there's a plan that's laid out for us. God has it all ready. God is just waiting for us to say, yeah, let me turn towards that path and believe, feel it in my gut, and follow that path. So what I've learned is that in helping other people to do that, you got to do a lot of listening, you got to do a lot of encouraging, and most of all, I think we have to do a lot of putting people into God's hands, trusting them to God's guidance for that repenting and believing. And also, it may take an extra couple trips to the neighboring town before you get there, but let me tell you, you will have some great conversations where you can share your own faith with that person, and in the end, it will all